Been a lot of phenomenal games here today for the Intel Extreme Masters day number 5 in the bracket stage, and we have one more series to find out that last player that's going to be playing in the Spodek Arena tomorrow. It's going to be a good time. We have Artosis to my right-hand side here to get things going. Todd, Artosis, looking at this, Solar going up against Maru. Talk to me about it, Artosis. What do you think?
Oh, well, I mean, I think it's a pretty good match.
All right, Todd.
It's going to be a great match.
Oh, no.
Dude, okay.
It's one of these desks.
I just played along.
Yeah, no. Like, Todd, I'm so disappointed in you. Look, Maru is the Terran right now. Like, we saw TY, yeah, he went out, he won his group, though. He did a good job. But Maru is the actual Terran that everyone's looking at. He's the top 8 in the GSL. His games to get there, awesome.
He has a huge winning record against Solar, actually 11-3.
Whoa.
So if we look at it that way, we're like, okay, I guess Maru's the huge favorite, but I feel like Solar has impressed a lot. He toppled his group, which I think is very difficult to do, and he's on the hunt.
He's hashtag
for a title as the last Splice player in the tournament.
That's right.
How about that?
Good job there, Todd. I like that. Getting that social media in. Also, of course, you know, Solar Artosis did beat Euthermal, but most importantly, beat Innovation. Innovation didn't have the best of groups, let's be honest.
Who didn't beat Innovation?
Yeah, exactly. That's not a phrase we commonly use.
No, it's a very rare thing. It felt like Innovation was a bit off. Look, Solar is playing well, and we know that he won't back down from the fight, so like, it's going to be hard for Maru, but I think, I don't know, I'm kind of leaning a bit towards him, the way he's been playing lately.
Actually, you say that, but there's that ad that plays. I believe that's the Intel ad.
Yes.
Who's the StarCraft guy that wins the tournament?
I think it's Solar.
Yeah. The fictional winner could become the real one. Wouldn't that be the sickest thing? That just take like tournament footage and they actually make the ad from that the next time?
There you go.
What if we are all just puppets in Apollo's masterful play? Solar is going to win this tournament.
Well, guys, I'm getting word our game is ready. So the round of 8 match as Solar goes up against Maru for a round of 4 spot.
Something in the air tonight. I'm gonna have to reach for new heights. And if I have to stand alone, I'm not afraid to face the throne. The enemy is all around. The walls crumble as I watch them fall down.
It's been an amazing day full of great StarCraft 2, but finally it's time for our last quarterfinal match of the night. It's going to be a match between 2 SSL champions. Give it up one last time for Maru and Solar!
Inside I will not lead you down a broken path. With every breath and every stride, I still need you here by my side to take me by the hand once again. I'm blinded by the light. We won't back down from the fight. No, we won't back down from the fight.
What's up, guys? Tasteless and Maynarde here, bringing you our final best of 5 before we are left with only 4 players in the Intel Extreme Masters.
I can't believe, now that, at the beginning of this tournament, I was like, damn, this is going to be a marathon. I can't believe how close we are to the apex of Intel Extreme Masters Katowice 2018, the World Championship. Maru versus Solar. These players very stylistically different from Rogue and TY. Generally, I would say this, I'd be like, all right, TY and Rogue, they like their late game, they like regular quote-unquote TVZ. This is the game that I would say get aggressive and weird, but that said though, TY and Rogue got aggressive and weird as well. So it's kind of hard to say whether this series will be more so, less so, and what the score is going to be. I have no idea, Tasteless. Don't even ask me, I have no idea.
I am not sure either. Maru right now, probably the best Terran in the world. We just saw the former Intel Extreme Masters champion, TY, fall to a just phenomenal play there by Rogue. And Solar over here has actually quietly had some of the best Zerg games we've seen in a long time, and he may be a real threat tomorrow.
Oh, absolutely. There's a reason he's here on stage, Tasteless. It's not because of bracket luck. It doesn't exist when the tournament's this stacked.
Not when you have this many people, Maynarde. This is it's insane to even get this far, to the point where there were only 8 remaining players. And so, as we go into this TVZ, expect everything and anything. Maru versus Solar. And we're ready to go. Let's introduce our first player. Here in the upper right, in the blue, he is Maru!
Good intro, Tasteless. Let me have a shot at it.
Intro Wars.
Intro Wars. Intro Wars 2. In the bottom left here, from Splice, this is Solar!
Well done. Well played.
Touché.
So, Maru, I think, is a little bit different as far as overall playstyle goes to TY. Obviously, both are S-class players, but I think Maru overall, he has great tactics, but he also has great snap decision-making. A lot of times he just has very solid pushes. He'll identify one moment where he might need to turn that push into another direction, pick up and drop somewhere else, whereas TY seems to win a lot of very small battles based off of the repetition of playing so many times. He'll always know like when to gun down a certain scouting unit, when to preempt this kind of tech. So going up against Solar, who I would say is a much more cerebral Zerg player, this is going to be a lot of fun to watch.
Yeah, he is going to punish everyone for his mistakes. Solar can make snap decision-making. He can see a little bit of weakness here, maybe a worker or two missing, maybe a certain amount of tech in the main with his scouting overlord, and just be like, all right, I know what I'm up against, and then try and work on countering that. Solar, like you mentioned, I love that you said cerebral, Tasteless. Remember how Lingbane Hydra was all the rage for a long time in this matchup? I feel like Solar was like one of the pioneers of that movement. I swear I was seeing an online cup Solar putting in Hydras before anyone else. It was back when we were actually seeing Hydras in this matchup going, wait, what?
Yeah, I remember seeing a little bit of this in Korea, whether I was watching the game from home or casted it there. And I remember thinking when I first saw him do that, huh?
Yeah.
So like, is that right? Or was that just something that, you know, you kind of discard after you do it, because surely we couldn't do this every time. Solar also had a lot of really cool Nidus plays early on. Right? He had the Legacy of the Void switch. He was one of these guys that was completely outdoing Adepts when Adepts are actually much stronger by just circumventing the entire issue of being harassed by them.
Yeah.
So coming into this game, we have what I would call more of a feeler build here from Maru. Maru is trying to come out on the map and identify what kind of opening the Solar is doing, as well as denying creep tumors, anything else that he can use this Reaper for. Now, Solar, I can't tell you exactly how he's going to play this. He might also play a pretty run-of-the-mill ZVT to start things out and try to identify where Maru is philosophically approaching this matchup from. And then we might see, for instance, in Game 3 and 4 especially, them try to adjust to each other and adapt.
Maru has seen a lot of information here that's very, very important, but he hasn't seen it all. At the moment, we know that everything's regular here for Solar, but Maru is definitely not going to be satisfied. He's actually playing very, very safe and all-round here, just going for a pretty regular Hellion opening, making sure that he can get some map control here against the Zerg, which is tough because Zerg generally have faster units and can amass them a lot easier. But Hellions are certainly a way to get around it. We got a Viking first here with Cloak on the way. And I believe that is a real Cloak here for Maru with the Banshee to follow up after that Viking. Solar comes in and does see it with the Overlord.
Now, we have seen games where this is used to put pressure on. I'm talking about the two Hellions and the Reaper, excuse me. But we've also seen games where players will actually try to run in and take out the drones. Now, with any risk, there's always reward. But if you end up overextending and losing those units, then the map control very easily does go to Solar.
Yeah, and he's going up into tier 2 here with that Lair on the way. Droning up nicely. This is nice little chip damage here from Maru, getting rid of a couple of these creep tumors. The Queens really want to have active creep tumors right now, spreading that creep out for Solar. And Maru doing a great job at denying it. And nice micro, by the way, on these Hellions. He's doing a lot of damage to this Queen.
Narrowly, Solar manages to keep that Queen alive. We have a much stronger Queen coming up that's going to try to take the brunt of the damage. But so far, with Maru's control, rotating these units back and forth so that none of them have been picked off, there's been a lot of additional damage done.
It certainly has. Behind the brush here, line of sight is in the advantage of Maru for a little bit. There is an Overlord actually helping out Solar, so never mind. These hurt Queens, I felt very, very worried there for Solar. They are going to survive for now. They didn't have transfusions or anything like that, but it seems like Solar is just going to do what a lot of Zergs have been doing in this tournament and go into Roach Tech here to help defend against these Hellions.
And when you go for the Roach tech, it's pretty robust. You're able to actually, as long as your Roaches are in the right position, you're able to usually bully the Terran back off of you. But that's why a lot of the Terrans try to maneuver around the map constantly, because if a Zerg player missteps once, then there's an opening to punish as a Terran player.
Absolutely, but he does need to deal with the fact that there are going to be multiple Banshees here for Maru. Now, when you think about Banshees, you think about Maru. This kid is damn good with them. He's going to have 2 of them on the field here with Cloak, and now starting to produce Ravens from that Tech Lab starport.
As this game continues on, we're going to have to see how long Solar is going to stay on the Roach Tech. This is really the burden for Zerg as a race, is you need to have just barely enough to hold off an attack. If you have too little, you lose the game. If you have too much, you can't advance in your tech later on. And that's the balancing act that Solar is going to have to do perfectly within this maximum of 5 games. Maru is constantly looking for the opening, for the soft spot, for a moment to exploit that, whether that's to come in with a drop and kill workers, whether that's to deny a base or destroy a base. There are so many different ways to approach it. Now, Maru comes in actually much later, and whoa, big miscontrol. Banshees can't transfuse each other, so you got to be careful there. He ate a lot of damage, almost like a misclick there, going into the range of the Spore.
Oh man, that was a little damage on that Banshee. So it takes a bit of the wind out of the sails of this harassment, to be honest. One hurt Banshee means that only really one of them is going to be able to dive in very deep here. Back on the other side of the map, though, we've got to bring it up that Maru is playing mech. He's got double armory going for 1-1, and he's also double expanding. He's got a third on location that is an orbital, and he's also taking the gold here, and that will almost certainly be a planetary. This is a lot of damage output on this army, but Solar is beating him face-to-face with the Roaches. Is there enough from Solar?
Oh my god, I think Maru might end up winning this on 2 different fronts here. The hatchery getting low. It is canceled and immediately remade. And as you were saying, Maynard, we have Maru expanding right up here at the top as well as to the right. Maru essentially telling us he does not believe Solar is going to call the bluff that Maru is playing right now. He believes Maru is going to try to play a more normal, aggressive game, and therefore Solar is going to respect him, when in fact he's going so hard into the econ game. Solar has to come up with a plan quickly, or Maru is going to be so much ahead.
I haven't seen any more Banshees on the way here for Maru, but that is Hyperflight Rotors on the way here, Tasteless. That means we're going to have some Ferrari Shees, some Maserati Shees here for Maru. Very, very quick Banshees that are very hard to catch unless you have flying units. And we just mentioned how good Maru is with these Banshees when they are even faster. That's extremely scary for the Zerg. But hold that thought, we do have Solar with a good number of Roaches moving across the map.
I am curious if Maru goes for this play style, and it looks like so far he's going to commit to it, how exactly is he going to keep safe on these 2 new bases that are actually quite far away from each other? Of course, you know, it does give Maru the opportunity to try to fly across the map and maybe take out some key buildings. But if he's unable to do that, then I'm worried that this might actually be a bit of an opening for Solar to come in here and punish.
Yeah, absolutely. Speaking of being punished, I'm a little bit worried about the fact that this is not a planetary, by the way. I was like, this is almost certainly going to be a planetary, right? This is a gold base. This is important, right?
Yeah.
And this is an orbital, so it's a little, I'm like, worried about that because the run-bys are very, very deadly.
Yeah, I mean, usually you get a planetary at a base that you know is hard to defend, and you might not have the resources to defend it, and especially at that gold base. So he's really trying to suck up all of the resources at that location very, very quickly. Now, the 4 Banshees are out. We do have additional Banshees being made. Cloak is just now activated as those Banshees graze by the Overlord. We want to see Kenny, for instance, come down here and wipe out this hatchery. I don't see anything here to defend.
Well, there is an Overseer and some Hydras on the way, which can deal with these Banshees, but there are 4 of them, and with Hyperflight Rotors, they can dance between the main and this base here. Oh, they actually force that cancel. That's a nice pick off there for Maru, and in he comes into the main. There's Hydras here, and also, a Parasitic Bomb. I love this from Solar. Utilizing the Viper spell to damage and soften up these Banshees. The Hydra's in range now. One of them going to go down by the looks of it. Nice pick off for Solar. And the 3 of these Banshees still alive for Maru. This is a bit of an investment, but of course, Maru is not going too ham on them. It's mainly all about having a powerful mech force. He's got +2 armor on the way and also +1 air on the way. I mean, Maru is making a bunch of command centers right now. If he goes into full Sky Mech, I'm going to lose my mind. I'm going to get so excited. This is something we haven't seen in a very, very long time.
Well, I think he absolutely is. He's going to completely wall himself in. Now, the longer the game goes, and I mean, he needs to go for super long for Solar to try to take advantage of this, because Solar's gold base was denied. But Maru is going for an insane mechanical unit composition, and it's going to be very tough for Solar to deal with. There is a possibility that Solar will try to look for some way to engage inside of the base early on. We know that Solar is very good at cracking a lot of different defenses, but even for Solar, if Maru gets the defensive setup up and running, it's going to be tough to stop.
7 Banshees coming in here. That is so much damage output. Hydra army be damned, they start shredding these light units here from the Zerg, engaging them directly and tearing them apart. The Spore Crawlers of Solar are high in number, and they're very necessary here to deal with these Banshees. And Abduct's there on the other one to pick them off. Maru in first-person cam here on your screen, continuing to expand and grow his army as he takes his presence on the map. More and more command centers coming out here for Maru for mules, scans, everything he needs, and even defensive planetaries.
What an incredible game. I can only imagine what Rogue is thinking as he watches this. Serral as well. As we're seeing in game number 1 of a very important series here, Maru and Solar both so close to getting to the round of 4. You open with this. Will we see this more in game 2 and 3? I don't know, but right now, I'm just curious to see how Solar is going to try to stop it.
Oh, we don't have enough energy for cloaking a couple of these Banshees. It looks like one of them's going to go down immediately. A mixture of Roach and Hydra in these Overlords. Solar has broken down the wall here for Maru. This base looks very exposed, actually. I don't think Maru was thinking about this.
Solar's found the opening. We have lots of Roaches and Hydras coming in now, but oddly enough, with this many command centers, even if he takes one out, you can swap it in with the backup command centers that you have here. And I don't know what exactly the long run is going to look like. He's denying a drop over here. Maru with great defense, not a single unit comes out. And it should be an inevitability that Maru will be able to deal with this attack down here as well.
Well, now the Overseers have left the party here. There they are. He loses a bunch of those Hydras. The Hyperflight Rotor Banshees are flying on in and engaging the Hydras directly one more time, taking them apart piece by piece. This is such a stylistic game here from Maru, something you don't see any other Terran doing at this high of a level. I'm so excited that Maru is showing us how to do this. He's getting a bunch of Ravens out as well. We've seen Maru specifically utilize Ravens to great effect in his run here at the Intel Extreme Masters, and he is starting to get those numbers up. +2 ship weapons about to finish, along with +2 ground mech weapons as well. So he's going to have an army of massive sky units and also tanks and Hellions on the ground.
Let's also...
What a composition.
Let's also keep in mind that with this many orbitals, you're able to land so many mules, which means you might not need anywhere near as many SCVs in a super late game. Therefore, you can get an even bigger army when you try to have this full-on engagement. Now, we see Solar also teching up the Broodlords. I'm not sure where. I saw some morphing. I actually don't know where they are, and it's going to be tough for him to actually try to get in there. Okay, so right in the center, just outside of where the sensor tower is, it's going to be tough to push in, and already Maru knows what's coming. The question is, does he have the tools to stop it?
I'm a little worried for these Broodlords, though, that there's going to have these Vikings here have +2 attack already. And with the armor shredder missiles, these Broodlords already don't have any carapace upgrades. So they are quite squishy. +1 is on the way, but not done just yet. I feel like if Maru splits the Vikings well against Parasitic Bomb, he can absolutely clean up this air army of Solar.
With these Banshees coming down and targeting the hatchery, this is a very valuable base that Solar's going to lose. However, Maru losing this center base does make positionally it a little bit easier for Zerg to start to hit other various areas. And the push that seems to be beelining closer to Maru's corner of the map has not yet been stopped.
Yeah, not yet. Doesn't have a ton of energy or a ton of Ravens just yet. They're being made 3 at a time out of these starports. Maru being extremely patient here, waiting for Solar to come to him before he closes the air army, and he's going to do just that. Coming on in, armor shredder missile all over the air army of Solar here. The Corruptors have been stripped of their armor. The Banshees coming in to fight the forces on the ground. The Hydra's getting decimated. Is there enough from Solar? Will Maru break through? It looks like Solar is pushing the issue.
Despite the excellent engage by Maru, Solar continues to muscle his way forward, heading towards the production facilities here of Maru. And I don't know if Maru's going to be able to stop this in time.
Certainly not. These Banshees suddenly starting to lose a lot of value here. The Corruptors are tearing them apart. The Broodlords have not been touched here by these Vikings. Maru not with enough Ravens or energy here to be able to battle just yet. He has +3 ship weapons on the way, Corvid Reactor on the way, but they are a little bit late to the party, Tasteless. He feels like he needed these 5 minutes ago.
I have to say, I really expected Solar to play a more conservative game by trying to take out each additional expansion and wear the Terran out. And instead, he's beginning to make a beeline and try to get right into the main. And if he does manage to breach the main and start doing a ton of damage, it's going to be really, really difficult for Maru to recover, especially when you consider the units he's making are expensive in gas and don't build as quickly as infantry do.
And this engagement for Maru was very, very nice, though. He got rid of a lot of those Corruptors, pushed the Broodlords away from his production, and he's also shooting the Vipers down. The +3 is about to finish for Maru. Maru took a lot of damage there, but he's still alive, Tasteless, and he still has quite a heavily upgraded army.
It is worth pointing out that most of the easy bases for Solar to take have been acquired. Everything else is actually, minus the bottom center, kind of close to Maru here. Will that be a big factor? It's hard to say, but it's worth mentioning because this looks like a game that could go on for a very long time.
Yeah, and I'm not even counting out the possibility of battle cruisers here with the fusion core done for Maru. Going to even start to throw in some ghosts and nukes. So we go in a hyper late game here against Solar, which is certainly approaching. Banshee's still somehow alive at the 16 and a bit minute mark. You don't generally see Banshees this late in the TVC. Very huge pleasure to see. A bunch of drones going to go down here. Forced lost mining time as well. And Maru just continuing to stay alive and make Solar work for this first map.
It is pretty crazy just how much damage these Banshees are doing. It's forcing Solar to constantly convert. Yeah, he's having to constantly come down there and try to do a little bit of defense. Otherwise, that very important gold base is going to be taken out. And now Maru has actually managed to match and supply what Solar had, where he was way ahead of him earlier on. It seems like we still need to wait for an actual big push to come out here from Maru. Most of his game plan is simply to grow big and hang on. In fact, that may be exactly where he wants this game to go, to force a Zerg to spend more minerals than Maru's spending, trying to break them, and eventually the end game, where there's almost no minerals left on the map, become almost impossible for Solar.
The upgrades on the air army for Maru are certainly better than Solar's right now, but Solar's air upgrades are going 2 at a time on Double Spire. He's got 2-2 on the way for his Corruptors and Broodlords. And normally, like you mentioned, Solar is a very cerebral player. This is not a composition he'd go up against very often, but he is doing the right things, I feel. He's getting more and more Hydras to be able to defend on the low ground, and also a huge cloud of Corruptors for the main engagement.
Because Maru gets so many additional minerals, it's a wise decision for him to make a lot of these Hellions that he can then turn into Hellbats at these expansions. You're mostly trying to get units that cost a lot of gas, but there's always more minerals on a map than there is gas, and you have to spend it somewhere. So what Maru's trying to do is trade those Hellions in for additional drones over here for Solar, and so far it's working out brilliantly.
Maru's killed so many Banshees with these, so many drones with these Banshees. Unfortunately, they're in a whole position in range of that Spore Crawler there. Solar is moving across the map into Terranville. He's very, very close to Maru's front door. Maru, once again, being very, very patient, but as a result, may have to give up this planetary.
Okay, we have the Banshees coming up now once again to do some damage, but this huge push here by Maru, by Solar up at the top of the map, already succeeded in wiping out that base. If we can we check the minerals remaining here for Maru? How many other bases does he have that are mineral rich? Okay, so that's almost gone. That has plenty of minerals, and that also is
not too bad. Yeah.
So about 2 more bases to easily mine from. Solar has plenty of bases that have overall a little bit more minerals, and I think he should be able to expand out here before Maru can come in and punish.
Definitely. Generally, at this point in the game, the Terran is struggling to spend their gas, but Maru is having no problem because of his composition. He's making 3 Ravens at once, which are pretty much, along with Ghosts, pretty much the only gas bank for Terran against battle cruisers as well, but they cost even more in minerals. And he's very, very close, Tasteless, to having a fully upgraded air army. That's extremely scary for Solar, especially, once again, considering the armor-shredding missile.
Now, we've already seen this location be destroyed once before. It would really behoove Solar to pull it off again. I believe Maru should be more prepared. If you note, his Vikings very much so arced out and patiently waiting for Solar to maybe over and extend in this engage.
And Solar is going for the fight here. A bunch of his Corruptors taking a ton of damage there. And even the Hydra's getting blanketed by these armor-shredding missiles. We have the planetary in trouble here for Maru. Parasitic Bomb going off. Maybe a little bit wastefully here for Solar, but he does get 2 Ravens on the right. A bunch of the Vikings still alive for Maru, though. He has smart servos, so they can easily drop down out of Parasitic Bomb danger.
After that victorious push, I want to see where Solar goes next. Does he try to go back into the heart, or maybe take out the only viable base, which is in the lower right, or the very top center? Because if he keeps Maru reduced on income, it's going to be hard for Maru to ever come across the map and make his big attack.
Tasteless, I feel like Solar overextended here, especially considering how many drones he lost on the other side of the map as well. We just saw the edge of it. He's losing a lot of these Broodlords, and the Corrupt account's been reset. You can see that Solar's trying to desperately make as many Corruptors as possible, but as a result, look at his mineral bank. It's all gone. He has this base here. It's going to be very, very important to him to saturate this and get that mineral income back.
Okay, a bold move here by Maru, landing this second command center down in this lower location. One of the backup command centers that was mainly being used for mules is relocated over here to this positional expansion as well. We have more and more ghosts being added in to the army. Solar continuing to bank up more and more Broodlords, itching to do another push. But when the supplies are all added up, it seems like Solar's still playing catch up, and that means Maru's going to take his turn to push out now.
He certainly is, and these Hydras are not going to last very long against this many blue-flamed Hellions with Plus to attack. And the advanced ballistics upgraded Liberators with their extra range, pushing Solar back from this location. We just mentioned how important this base is for Solar, considering how poor he is, but Maru denies it.
And with Maru coming in from the top, he may in one fell swoop take out the majority of the expansions here in the upper left. The Vikings right now trying to fight these Corruptors, Broodlords frantically trying to wipe out all these units on the ground.
They certainly are. What's the Viking count out now for Maru? This is his answer against these Broodlords. Even the Liberators could come in and fight as well. They unsiege and start battling the Corruptors. Their anti-air is not great though. The Broodlords are still alive. The Banshees for Maru doing damage on the ground. Both players taking a big hit to their army, but in the end, Maru with a lot left over, and Solar does not have enough.
Solar seems to be processing the loss. GG! Maru takes game number 1.
In maxed upgraded Sky Terran on Eastwatch, Tasteless, this is a unit composition you do not see every day, and we just saw one of the highest level Terrans, if not the best Terran right now in the world, whip it out here on stage against Solar. That is such a treat as a commentator and a fan.
Absolutely. You know, it's kind of crazy. I did not expect that style from Maru, certainly. I thought we were going to see more of the, just in general, kind of textbook aggression from Maru, winning with a lot of drops and infantry. He played a completely different game. And now I'm wondering, does he bring that style out again? After all, it did work versus Solar. Solar did try his damnedest to push through with the Broodlords, to try to get to the heart, to take out the production facilities. And I thought for a little bit back there, he might actually pull it off. However, Maru seems to have practiced that style enough that he was comfortably able to have his army retract, to almost fold in on himself. Feed, or I should say maybe fish the Zerg in a little bit further and then come and crush it all out. And after Solar, I think, lost, I believe it was the 3rd major push, that's when Maru knew, okay, he should have lost enough minerals overall. He can't remake his army as fast as I can. The counter push comes out, and Solar, when the attack was over, was 50 supply behind and no money in the bank.
Yeah, I think one of the biggest turning points in that game was not only the engagements from Maru, but when he managed to get across the map and deny 24 drones from Solar, maybe even more than that in the end there, which left Solar with a pretty dismal economy in the end and a very tough road ahead of him to be able to meet and battle that air army of Maru directly. I expected bio play from Maru because of his multitask, but we are getting a true treat here. In the top right, the player in question, this is Jynna Greenwings, Maru!
His opponent here in the bottom left, in the red, he is Solar!
Plenty of fans for Maru, Solar, and apparently Smix out there in the crowd.
Of course.
No surprises for any of those 3 things.
I got to say, man, this has just been such a kick-ass tournament. We're on day 5 now of StarCraft 2 games. I was talking to Rotterdam on break about this. This is one of the tournaments where we've had almost all of the series be epic. All the games are so good. That does not always happen at a StarCraft 2 tournament. Granted, there's always going to be some games better than others, but this has been an especially awesome tournament here at the Intel Extreme Masters. And just looking at game number 1 between Maru and Solar, I can't say it's going to be any different as we move on.
It does feel like there's some kind of celestial cosmic event where everything's lining up and there's some sort of energy flowing here into Katowice where for some reason this tournament just continues to be amazing year after year after year. The reigning champion is gone. We're going to have a new champion and we have still the final Terran alive here in Maru. He's the last Terran alive in GSL and he's the last Terran alive here as well.
That's right. Anybody who's an enthusiast of Terran, a student of Terran, is watching and studying to try to figure out how do you play Terran at the very best in 2018. And right now against Solar, Maru's bringing a style I don't really think we saw throughout the last 5 days. It's almost like he was a time traveler or something and he just appeared. He's like, this is what they're doing in 2022. Because it looked really effective, and I'm surprised we didn't see a little bit more of this approach. I'm also curious to see if he'll do it on this map, because this is, of course, a different map. That's one of the great things about StarCraft is you can play certain styles in certain maps. There's different rates you can expand, different cheeses you can do. So let's see if he has a few more tricks up his sleeve, or if he's going to redeliver this really solid style that Solar only has so many games to try to adapt to.
Blackpig is a pretty popular mech map for a lot of the Terrans here in this tournament at the highest level, but of course, don't count out the bio possibility here for Maru. As we mentioned at the very, very start, I expected it because of the fact that he just multitasks so damn well. His control, one of the best in the whole world. Even rivals Beyond at one point in time, as you know, we keep thinking about him as one of the greatest micro Terrans in the whole world. Very stylistic, very flashy micro. Maru can certainly go toe-to-toe with that.
So, for starts, this is looking similar to the last game, at least in openers. Now, that doesn't really tell us that much because we have all sorts of Terran builds. They can begin with this build order and fork out in so many different directions. For now, Solar is just trying to get a read on what's going on, calculate how many drones can you actually make and safely get away with, and is there any opening here for Solar to try to end this quickly? Because, again, that style Maru did was pretty cool, but Solar doesn't have to play by those rules. Solar can always do some kind of all-in, something to end that before Maru really gets to utilize this thing that he seems so strong at.
Yeah. See how edgy Solar is, perhaps. Don't want to play either roles. We've got a Raven very quickly here for Maru, and this is something that's also a little bit old school. Back before patch 4.0, Terrans got that Raven very quickly because it had auto-turret harassment potential, and also it's a mobile detection unit. So you can, with your Hellions, move out across the map and deny some of these creep tumors, which is also a very powerful early game tool.
Yeah, it's smart. I mean, this is one way you can keep the Zerg somewhat under control without actually overextending. It's kind of cool to see the Zerg try to get that creep out further and further in any way that you really can. We've got Stim now on the way here. Another command center being produced as well. And honestly, it seems like Maru's been pretty passive, mostly just interested in making sure there's nothing leaving this point. And so Solar does try to come down and drive away some of these Hellions with these queens.
I think when the Raven meets this army, Maru is going to try and get a little bit deeper into the infrastructure of Solar here and see if he can get some juicy damage on, maybe pick off a queen or two, or to get some drone kills. Of course, he wants that creep tumors as well. Look like he wants to engage. He's going for an auto turret right here on that queen. Nearly gets him, but a fast transfuse there from Solar. Good control from the Zerg. Doesn't have a ton of links, though. He's going to have to rely very heavily on these queens to get the job done.
It was actually pretty cool to see. If you notice closely, he was trying to block the queens from running back by getting the turret exactly behind the queen so that the queen could maybe take some more damage, but Solar handled that pretty well. I gotta say, kind of an impressive push there from Maru coming out right away. And Maynard, we have a Spire being made.
It is a very early Spire as well, Tasteless, with Lings and Roaches being made by Solar. This could be a direct counter to what Maru is doing here. He's feeling like there's going to be a Raven very annoying, there's going to be Hellions. Well, I mean, apart from auto turret and I guess armor missile, which Raven doesn't have enough energy for just yet, it is, they don't really shoot up.
And I think it's cool that he's showing just a few drones here. Because of course, I'm sorry, just a few roaches here. Because if he sends those out, that might make Terran react in sort of the wrong way. But in this game specifically, it's going to be the stem timing. Maru's actually going for a Terran versus Zerg that we're a little bit more used to seeing.
Well, I mean, this opening is quite old school. Like I mentioned, it was a very popular pre-patch. At the moment, Maru's finding a little bit of damage with it, but not tons. This is a nice run by from Solar, though. Maru in time here, trying to take that third base, loses a few SCVs. Probably going to have to force a lift as well, just so he doesn't take too much damage on that CC.
Okay, the Lings do retreat now. We're waiting for these 5 Mutalisks to hatch and see if it can't throw Maru off. Solar taking a 4th base as this is happening. And it's actually generally a good idea as your mutas are hatching to try to expand like this, because usually the Terran or whatever race you're against has to address the muta threat first. But we have Maru pushing out
with 1-1.
That's right, with 1-1 here. Combat shield's not that far away. And I'm curious to see how this engagement's going to go. It seems like he's going to have to fight on creep, and that's never something Terran really want to do.
I'm honestly a little worried for Solar here. I don't think his army is incredibly good against Maru. He has tanks and he has 1-1 Marines with combat shield very shortly as well. And these mutas, they are very good harassment units, but they don't have a ton of fighter power. I feel it's going to have to be on the Roaches and the Ravagers of Solar to actually clean this up.
Okay, coming forward now, the hatchery taking some damage. We're looking at Solar's view, and Solar's actually sending his Mutalisks across the map, but that means it's going to be harder for him to try to hold off this push here from Maru.
The Roaches are doing a good job holding for now, and Maru is not thinking about mutas. He doesn't have any turrets. He does have NG base, but the turrets aren't done just yet. He is actually going to have to rely on the reinforcement Marines here. The Marines he's producing fresh out of these barracks to deal with the Mutalisks. Solar finding a big opening of damage here, and he's closing in on these tanks as well.
Okay, the Roaches come forward. One tank does go down. Medevac still healing these Marines. The stray tank over here on the far left will eventually be taken out with those corrosive biles, and Solar is winning on 2 separate fronts.
He certainly is. He cleans up the army at Maru, getting some of these critical units as well in the main, as well as getting 12 SCVs. Solar is starting to run away with this game, and he's like, all right, I'm going to make a ton of Roaches and just kill you.
Yeah, this was a brilliant play by Solar. I'm actually worried that if Solar decides to move out and attack, there won't be any way for Maru to defend. Maru only just now getting on his feet as these mutas have been bullied back out of the base. But as I say that, actually he's going to try to come in once again.
Another tank kill?
Yeah, this is huge. He needs those tanks to help defend a possible huge attack here from Solar on the ground.
Yeah, absolutely. Solar's making so many Roaches right now. Tasteless, he's got more than double army supply of Maru here, and he's got 1-1 on the way for these Roaches as well, and they are beginning their march of death towards Maru.
It seems like Maru's managed to regroup, but Solar has nearly doubled him in supply. Getting so many Roaches at such an insane rate. I know that Maru should know what's coming. The question is, can he control it well enough? Does he have the right position to possibly hold it off? And the Ravagers comboed in with the Roaches makes that much tougher, because usually it's the tank that can first initially drive back a big ground army, but the Ravagers counter that very easily with that corrosive bile.
There are tanks here for Maru, but will there be enough? One of them is going to go down very quickly here in the natural. The tanks in the siege up to the third base doing their best, but it's just overwhelming supply here for Solar, and he is on the precipice of tying up this series. Tasteless pressing the issue here. Maru going for one last stand with this bio in the natural, but it just doesn't seem to be enough.
Maru barely trying to hang on, but Solar, as he gets more spread out, overwhelms him, and that's GG. Solar ties it up 1-1.
Such a brilliant decision there from Solar to go for the big Roach attack. He had killed tanks, he killed a lot of the production of Maru and a lot of his economy. He knew there weren't going to be many tanks there. He knew there wasn't going to be a lot left for Maru because of the amount of harassment and chip damage he did to these important units. And that was just a very quick and easy victory from there onwards.
So cool. We saw in game number 1, Maru with a totally alternative slow-paced style. In game number 2, Solar completely blindsides Maru with a tech switch that he disguised so perfectly. In game 3, I have no idea what to expect. It seems like these players are evenly matched, even though they've been approaching this matchup in completely different ways.
Yeah, indeed. I'm so glad we got to see multiple styles from these players. And I'm really, really excited for game number 3. Not too far away now. We're going to go to Neon Violet Square. It's a map that can be pretty interesting in TVZ. There's small features like obviously the bricks in the middle. You don't want to engage in there as a Zerg, but around those bricks in the middle, the little pachinko machine in the middle of the map, you can actually go,
It is a pachinko machine in the middle of the map. I've never thought of that.
No, it's exactly what it is. And the tanks don't fit through those little blocks there. And Zerg has a ton of open space for great engagements in the middle map. Also, there's a lot of run-by potential, the high ground, but on the other side, if the Terran gets sieged up in one of those high ground positions where the Zerg usually takes their third and sometimes their fourth base on the low ground, they can actually just kill both those bases. They just evaporate.
Yeah, very true. It is a kind of a, well, I guess we're going to start this game, excuse me. I'll talk more about that after we get this game off the ground. Game number 3, always at a best of 5, very important. There is only one spot remaining in that Final 4. And we're going to find that player out very quickly. Introducing our first player in the bottom right, in the blue, our Terran. He is Maru!
And I think he is also Proxy.
I think he is. Sneaky, sneaky.
Sneaky cheeky. And it's up left here from Splice. This is Solar!
Okay, let's jump right into this one. And never mind talking about the pachinko machine shape in the middle of the map. This is a game that could end very quickly. Maru, rolling the dice a little bit here, is saying, okay, I won with an insane turtly conservative long game strategy. How about in game number 2, we take the aggression up to 11 and tear off the knob. He's going to go straight into a huge attack here, and this might blindside Solar, who's probably thinking about, like, well, if he goes mech in this game, I got to get ready for that. I got to make sure I don't push too far with my Broodlords. He's going to go and try to rush in here right away.
Maru thought about mid and late game, and he went, no. I'm going to proxy right here. We saw this actually in TY, in his series there against Rogue. There is a very powerful choke point here for the Terran that he can abuse with a lack of surface for the Zerg. Like I mentioned, they want surface area. Terran is the opposite. They like choke points. They are going to have a ball of Marines here, and the big difference between Solar and Rogue is that Rogue scouted it.
That's right. Let's get a vision check here. He's like, and then when I get my Broodlords, I'm gonna stop in the late game and show him that he's gonna have to. There's bunkers, excuse me, right here. Right next to the hatchery, action's picked up. Solar has to scramble and come up with a solution, or we're going to go into game 4 before we know it.
That's right. This is already a rough position here for Solar. Not catching this. He went hatch first instead of pool first, so he doesn't have a ton of units. It's going to be up to him to try and mitigate the damage here of Maru, and he also managed to get a bunker down very, very close to that hatchery, and the production here from the eggs of Solar before the creep spread out far enough. This is a very tough situation for Solar at the moment. He can, of course, break through and can turn a game out of this, but this is Maru we're talking about. This isn't any Terran.
Okay, the Marines are now coming up. The third bunker is going to complete, and with his hatchery already below half health, I don't think that Solar can save this, but Solar, in the last second, taking his Lynx, his Queens, and his drones, is trying in a ditch attempt to save this game.
Oh, I wonder if he has enough damage output here. There's repairs on the bunker as well. The Lynx of Solar have one more bunker to break through here. A lot of drones have gone down as well, Tasteless. Don't forget that Solar, even though he's alive for now, he is on life support economy-wise. He doesn't have a whole lot going for him drone count-wise. Thankfully, when you go for this for the Zerg, there's generally no CC on the low ground for the Terran.
That's right, and these barracks have a long ride home before they can be used. In fact, one headed up here into the main because Maru needs some intel to figure out what direction Solar wants to take this game. Maru most certainly in panic mode, well aware of the bad position that he's in. Solar now moving across the map has the opportunity to continue to keep Maru on one base. This is why aggression like what we saw from Maru is a double-edged sword.
It is indeed, but once these Hellions are out, Maru will be able to hold on. He needs multiple SCVs to repair this wall, though. These supply depots are getting a little bit low. Maru needs to take this very seriously here. If the Lynx break in, then he's going to take a ton of damage.
And of course, Maru, as you were saying, will survive this, but this is more minerals that are just going to keeping Maru in this game. And it really, no matter who you have playing in a situation like this, even the very best Terran in the world will have to fight an uphill battle.
It is indeed. And considering we've seen one of the barracks is floating around through the main of Solar here, making sure there's no Roach Warren or anything that he has to worry about here, which is certainly a very viable follow-up for Solar. I think that with the barracks floating here and the other one on the way, it makes a little bit of sense for Maru to try and go down the mech path here. It is a pretty popular tech choice on this map as well because of these choke points and the fact that they need that firepower for the open ground as well. There's that armory going down for Maru, and of course the Raven, always a strong support spellcaster.
And maybe Maru's actually thinking, okay, I'm just going to make this the longest game possible. Of course, Solar does still have opportunities to try to end it. Just that's how behind Terran is. A lot of games, you don't see it in an ordinary fashion the Zerg just break the Terran. Usually if the Zerg just runs over the Terran, it's because they did a very specific timing attack, you know, with Ravagers coming down there and gunning down the tanks. In this situation, because we're only just now seeing the command center land at the expansion, and SCVs are going to be transferred, a few more of them are going to be transferred there shortly. Well, whereas Solar's already taken a third base tempo-wise, this is just uncomfortable here for Maru. But Maru's decided that he's going to try to push out. Now, this can be risky, because if the Zerg was ready, you can shut it down. But, of course, sometimes Zergs get a little bit greedy, Maynard.
They do sometimes, those greedy Zergs. We have a bio follow-up here for Maru, so it's not going to be mech. He's just making the one armory so that he can turn these bad boys into Hellbats and go for a push before there's too many roaches here for Solar. This could be a lot of damage for Maru, as a lot of these Lings are actually on the other side of the map.
Oh, where are these Lings going? These Lings are going all the way back around. No, they're going to turn around and try to go inside the base. And that hatchery that was damaged early on has now been destroyed.
That's a massive pick-off there for Maru. But there are Lings and he's natural as well, tearing apart his SCVs. Both players taking a ton of damage here.
We see the push continuing to get further and further inside the base. Roaches coming from behind, and at the last second, Maru with a pickup. However, Lings are tearing into the main production area of his base. If they can breach this, I do not know if Maru can hang on.
Oh, the Lings do not get in just quite there. The SCVs are off the line to try and repair.
We see the medevac scrambling to get back home, as there is just not that much hanging on here for Maru. He's at the ramp just trying to keep a barricade so these Lings don't get in and take out his precious SCVs. And finally, Maru has managed to now reclaim an economic footing in this game.
Solar is trying to go for an attack here, Tasteless. He's bringing some Roaches and morphing him into Ravagers. Maru doesn't have a number of tanks just yet. Going for repairs on the Ravens. This medevac does see that there's a good number of Roaches here for Solar. It doesn't look like a ton, but in the early stages of this game, it is quite dangerous.
It's not clear if Maru is going to have enough, because Roaches and Ravagers are, of course, much beefier and able to just soak a little bit more damage. One tank in the back. The Ravagers
might be enough.
Not quite in position to try to pick that tank off with Corrosive Bile, and one Ravager does not go down, barely getting away in time.
Certainly.
Or not. Got to keep running. Don't look back.
That's right, never look back.
Never look back.
Never look back. The Stim Marines behind you. But Maru actually cleans up, and I feel like that was an all-right trade in there for Maru with that last bit of the battle. Losing some of that army there for Solar kind of stinks, because now when medevacs come out for Maru, he'll be able to be a little bit more annoying on the other side of the map. But that said, though, Solar did a lot more damage to the economy of Maru than Maru did to him. Maru killed that hatchery, which is fantastic, but there are still plenty of drones left over.
I'm curious to see how much this drop is going to do. Because of the unit composition that Solar went for, he can be bullied by the drops. It's not easy to stop them. It's not easy to deny them. Yeah. Remember that Solar just remade that hatchery at his natural expansion. We're getting close to 9 minutes, and this has been one of the scrappiest games I've ever seen.
And with this drop timing, Maru is going to have combat shield in about 6 seconds here, which is going to make his Marines a lot stronger against this very light army of Solar. The main is under siege, Tasteless. Roach is coming up. Solar needs to clean him up right now, or he's going to be in a terrible spot.
Oh, the pickup just in time, saving the majority of his army. And now looking around, there's always a chance that hatchery could be dropped later on. Good play there by Solar at the last second, saving another valuable location.
Looks like we got Liberators coming out here for Maru. He's happy with his medevac count, and he's going to try and do some more drone harassment. I like it. Good decision. There's a very high-energy Raven as well, still alive, an incredibly important tool for Maru. In fact, he could cancel his hatchery as well. He's very, very close to be able to do that. It's low at hit points.
Snap reaction here. I don't believe that Solar can get down here in time.
That's a
and
kill.
Not even canceled. A kill on the hatch.
Ooh.
Solar, with a little bit of a gamble, or maybe not fast enough, was unable to get down there and try to save that hatchery before those upgraded Marines of Maru could get down there. And this may make Maru actually do another push, since all those minerals are going to have to go back into another hatchery. Since we've already seen some pretty good engages, I don't see any reason for Maru to stop what he's doing.
No, not at all. Bio is going to trade better and better against these roaches as the game goes on, and Solar knows this. He's going to start getting Hydralisks and Banelings, which are a lot better against this style. How does he deal with these medevacs? He doesn't have anything that shoots up. He has Corrosive Biles, but the medevacs are just going to dance around that.
Roaches actually expected an attack in the main when really Maru is coming down to once again try to deny this hatchery. The Ravagers have to be careful because the Marines, if they get close enough, can come in there and snipe. Maru setting up a good position. Is stimming down on this hatchery, and another cancel is forced.
Certainly is. And the Liberator getting drone kills on the other side as well.
Oh my God,
dodging
so
the Corrosive Biles. Maru going up in the main. This might be a little bit greedy for Maru. Loses one of his medevacs, and he does get deflected. Maru, though, being able to deny this fourth base again for Solar is really hurting the Zerg.
Okay, another good pickup. Solar scrambling to try to take out all of these different attacks, slowly being bled off here by Maru. But keep in mind, Solar's supply is getting bigger and bigger. Of course, his army is very roach intensive, but with Hydras coming out here, maybe there's a chance we can see Solar try to push out and start getting in Maru's face.
And it's a smart idea to get Banelings as well. They are just so effective against the high Marine count here of Maru. He is just straight up going Marine tank with a second factory on the way. He's going to have plenty of siege tank production. This Raven coming to support these bio units again. They have 1-1 attack and are on the hatchery again.
We see another attack coming over here. He's targeting the hatchery, and it does just go down.
The auto turret got the last shot off there. Nice pick off there for Maru. Stuff going from bad to worse here for Solar, who's also supply blocks while trying to hold off aggression.
Another save over here by Solar, but if Solar keeps losing hatcheries like this, he's not going to be able to compete with the production from Maru. Another drop in the main. Link's coming here. Maru thinks twice and backs out.
Solar has a ton of army supply here, and if he decides to go across the map, even with this many units in advantage here in supply, look at this sweet defensive setup for Maru. He has all these tanks lined up in the low ground. The Zerg going in there is suicide unless he has a ton of units. Maru again causing Solar to slow down his attack, make him rethink it. He's splitting off some of his roaches to try and see what he can get done across the map, but he definitely doesn't want to have another hatchery cancel or kill.
You can see Solar is starting to stabilize, but of course, we're having Maru get more and more technical in his unit composition. And with these medevacs flying around, it's just insane to see how much of a beating Solar's taking. With a first-person view, you can actually see how fast he is moving. And even then, Maru's still coming out of the darkness and coming in here again with another stem, trying to target down this hatchery. Can Solar save it? And an instant cancel at the last moment. But a Zerg needs to have enough bases mining constantly, or you will just get further and further behind.
You're absolutely right. Speaking of bases, Maru should be looking into a fourth soon as well. He's been producing so many units and doing such a great job dancing on the other side of the map that he does need to think about back at home. And there's that fourth CC I was talking about. He could even take the gold with this setup if he wanted to, but even taking the high ground, Maru has choices in spades. Solar's army supply is not as impressive as it once was. He's lost 3 hatcheries. That's 3 hatchery kills here on the units lost tab. That's so massive here. Oh man, Maru even sees with this scan that there is a Hive and a Spire on the way here for Solar. So after these medevacs come out, gonna likely start throwing in Liberators or Vikings, likely Vikings here.
We do see that things have calmed down for just a minute. The gold base is being taken. Solar has maxed out, and that will lead him to probably do some kind of attack here. Maru is going to macro up and power up as quickly as possible. This was a slugfest of a game for 14 minutes straight, Maynard. And only just now is it looking like a more passive game as Solar finally has room to breathe. He takes the upper center. Keep in mind they both still have the free bases in the very corners of the map. And Solar also taking a gold base of his own, but I believe momentarily we should see a push.
I agree with you. When I see the upgrades in the production tab, by the way, I'm just wondering, like, when did Maru manage to get Chrono Boost? He has 3-3 on the way here, while 1-1 is only done for the Zerga. He has +2 Carapace just finishing now. So the upgrades heavily in favor for the Terran. Even the tanks have +1 attack. So there is a lot of damage output of this army. Solar's army supply, once again, not that much higher than Maru's anymore. It looks like Solar is going to have one big fight to be able to defend, or he's going to have to tap out of this one.
Okay, using the map architecture to his advantage, he's wedged himself into a very good position. I believe Solar will sack this hatchery and looking for another opening. We see a small roach counterattack that may draw back, in fact, all of the forces here. And you know what? I like this from Maru, identifying that, well, I already took out the hatchery. That was free. I might as well just come back here, kill these roaches, rinse and repeat.
And he takes very minimal damage here. He loses a few units. Yes, he has to cancel his CC, but Maru still has this upgrade advantage. He has the army supply advantage, and he has a lot of tech here. A big link counterattack from Solar, though. I love this from Solar, trying to slow down Maru's push.
It seems like Maru might be able to deny this as well, though. Some of his army coming back. Solar really trying to buy time before he has to address the actual major push. In fact, trying to come in here, take out these tanks and or SCVs, anything to slow Maru down. But Maru is now headed northbound on the map, interested in taking out that hatchery that we see not far away.
He's not coming home this time, and when I was expecting Vikings on the way here for Maru, there aren't any, and he has a lot of Marauders here. So Broodlords, if Solar 6 Broodlords finish and get a part of this fight before he takes critical damage, I can see Solar fighting back.
As we can see, the game has just been a non-stop beatdown for the Zerg. It's kind of crazy. We were talking about how hard it would be after a double barracks opening for Terran to do anything, but Maru doubled down, and this push is insane. Now, I don't know if it's going to be easy for Solar to counterattack, and if he can actually get under these Broodlords and take them out, that would be huge. But first, he has to deal with all these Banelings that are ready to destroy any Marines on the low ground. Maru unsieges, packs his bags, and leaves.
That's right. I mean, when you see these Broodlords and you have a heavy tank and Marauder composition, you're just like, all right, I can't take this fight anymore. And Solar takes this opportunity to roll on forward. Reinforcements from Maru, though, a lot more Marines here. This is a little dicey for Solar. Maru also ready for the next stage of the game. He has Ghosts on the way and triple Starport being dropped here to come up with the 4 in total, which will be more than enough production to deal with the Broodlords. However, there is an opening for Solar to start sieging on Maru here.
And this might be the first moment where Solar can truly punch back in a late game fashion, beginning to chip away at this oh-so-valuable gold base. We don't see the tank sieging up, meaning Maru's uncertain. And now he does. He sieges up and says he's going to hold his ground. But it looks like this command center might already be taken out.
That's a nice pickup there for Solar, but he's going to have to do more than that. Maru is still in an all-right spot. The Broodlord's taking some big anti-army missiles, a lot of the Hydras and Banelings taking it down as well, and Maru's like, all right, you're softened up. Time to tenderize the meat here with that bio, and he stims on forward.
Stimming in and taking out so many of these units while they're still in the orange. A big fight there by Maru. Again, he's going to have to remake that command center and see if he can push back across the map. Maru growing at kind of an insane rate here. Let's see if Solar decides to turn all the way around or pick a fight on better terrain.
Solar really wanted to commit to that fight there. He has some Queens coming across the map to help transfuse these Broodlords, but it's a little bit too little too late. Now Maru with a huge army advantage with 3-3 completed, +3 nearly done for the tanks. Ghosts are out as well. I don't know if Solar can hold on anymore, Tasteless. Maru is spiraling out of control.
And now Maru locking out this location. No ground forces can easily move through here. He's going to again try to take this hatchery out. Hydra's flanking out, Banelings on the way, and Broodlord slowly moving up to try to get a proper engage. Solar coming in here at about 180 degrees of an attack, but it seems like Maru has too much as Solar's supply slowly gets lower and lower, and GG! Maru takes game number 2.
The final Terran, one map away from semi-finals appearance here. Can we get him through, or will Solar fight back to make it a ZVZ in the semis? Oh man, my heart rate is through the roof, Tasteless. I cannot wait for the next game here. Oh,
I don't even know what to say. These games have been so insane. Hey, by the way, that started out with a proxy barracks. I know if you just now tuned in, you would never guess that. But anyways, guys, before we go to game number 3, let's check in with the boys at the analyst desk and see what they're thinking about this crazy series.
Our 2 final players in the Intel Extreme Masters round of 8. So evenly matched as we are in 2-1 situation here to Maru. Going to check in with Artosis and Todd as well, though. Artosis, you got yourself a game 1 opportunity.
Yeah. Well, I mean, this was a game that could totally go either way, and it looked for a little bit like Solar might end up winning this, and that obviously would be a really big deal at this point, right?
Yep.
But let's jump into the replay real quick here. I think Pig put it very well. What we're about to see is Solar butts his head against the wall with this unit comp a little bit. Like, see, he kills his base. We'll speed it up just a little bit here and take a look. He's doing a good job, right? Like, he's breaking down the barracks. He's killed a base. There are some sick missiles in here, but he's pushing everything back, and the Broodlords can continue to do a bit of damage, but he just tries to go for the kill. And if you look at this, right, he was maxed out. He's lost a huge chunk of army.
Yep.
And all of his units are getting kind of far apart. The thing about Broodlords, you need other units there to cover them. So if we just go ahead a little bit quicker here, you'll see eventually he is going to have to turn around. It's like he's trying to kill him. What are you getting here, though? You getting a couple depots? You're going to kill those SCVs? Okay, cool job, bro.
Yeah.
And now he's going to have to run, and he's going to lose a lot of units on the way home. Just a little bit too over-eager to finish the game sometimes. Instead of, okay, I've just killed a chunk of his army. I've killed a base. Let me pull back. Let me reinforce. Make the ultimate army again. So maybe Solar needs to slow that down just a tad.
Very rare we see fights go like that, as we did in game number 1, of course. Cloak Banshees running everywhere, trying to snipe out things on the front.
Crazy game. Crazy game.
Definitely. Todd, checking in with you now. You did have game 3 for us of this series.
Yeah, and towards the end, things got crazy. It opened up with a bunker rush, but Maru somehow recovered, maxed out, and some of the army movement and control towards the end is what I want to point out. It was just incredible the whole way, so we can go into it. And, okay, so Maru was being aggressive the whole time. Now he postures forward. Solar is still a little bit hesitant to engage. He's waiting until he has all of his Broodlords. We see like he still has a few morphings. So this is what Maru sees when he scans. He's like, okay, I gotta get out of here. Whereas Solar, he knows there is this entire Terran army down there. Yeah. He would love to fight on creep. His dream is that Maru steps over there and then he would kill everything. But Maru, he's a little too smart for that. So what is he gonna do? He's just gonna unsiege and head on home. And at this stage, Solar is so eager to fight that he chases him across the map, on his side of the map, towards that very important gold base that Maru had. Which, by the way, like in upgrades, he did fantastic. He was 3-3 at this time.
Yeah.
So this is how the fight takes place. And at first, like, this is very scary. When this many Broodlords shoot you and you barely have any Vikings, like, it's always going to be the question of how you're going to handle the Broodlings. There's obviously Vipers that can land Blinding Clouds. It's all about the micro here, really. Like, as much as the upgrades are better for Maru and he has that PF tanking, you know, that's not going to last very long. So that goes down. And now this was a bit weird because Solar can't really run in there, but he gets a little bit too close. Maru does what he does best, and with some fantastic Raven control, pushes this army back. What does Solar do? He kind of moves the Broodlords, so kind of leaves them behind here for a second. So Maru, upon realizing that, he's like, okay, let me just punish that real hard right now. He jumps on top of the Broodlords, snipe the important units, and behind this, look at the bank. There is no bank for Solar. This was the army he couldn't afford to lose. So I feel like he moved a little bit too far back with his main army, lost the Broodlords, and I'm going to pull a bit of a Maynard and catch the rest of the replays. No, actually, I'll just fast forward through it.
Well, we've already switched to us, so.
Oh, we did. What the hell?
Oh, you wish you were Maynard.
That's it. No,
stay in game when I'm done.
It was only a few seconds. You're fine. So what you're saying is, both of you, is protect your Broodlords.
Protect your Broodlords.
There you go. Thank you very much. I don't know how all of these games keep getting better and better. We've been going for 12 hours at this point in time for day number 5, but let's head back. Game number 4 as Maru goes up against Solar.
Man, I wish I was Maynard as well. Wait, I am Maynard.
Somebody has to be, you know? We're going to go into game number 4, Maynard. This series has been so special. It's been so cool. All these games are so different. I can't believe we had, in game 3, a bunker rush, and then we go all the way into insane late game with Broodlords, and we're seeing these slow pushes coming out. I don't know if we're going to have a push like that, or I should say a rush like that in game number 4. You don't normally do that multiple times in a series. That's when you throw out and then you try to go back to your more standard play. But with Maru bringing such a range of builds, I don't know what's standard, Maynard. Is it just standard if it's different every single time?
I feel like it's something you can only really do on Neon Violet Square with that little choke point. Of course, it can be effective, but it is a little bit rough to do. But let's introduce our players in the top left on match point. The final Terran. This is Jidder Greenwings, Maru!
His opponent in the bottom right, in the red. He has to win this game and the next, or his story ends here. He is Solar!
Oh, yes. I'm really excited for this series. Obviously, I won a Game 5. I always want as much StarCraft as possible, even though, as James mentions, it's been a 12-hour day. Does not feel like it, Tasteless, because time flies when you're having fun.
That's right. I am looking forward to seeing what kind of weird and hopefully long and crazy game we have from these two. This is, a map. It's quite open. There's lots of different angles you can try to push at. And even getting some branding in there, right? When we're looking at the map, I like that.
Yeah, we snuck a little branding.
Yeah, I like that.
A little
in case
bit
you
there.
forgot what tournament you're watching.
There's a WCS one on the other side of the map as well.
That's right.
Quickly find. There it is.
There it is.
Oh, yes.
So we see a Reaper opening here for Maru. Now, with the Reaper opening, you can still bring it to any kind of game besides proxy barracks. But I think we're having Maru go back and try to check in on what Solar's up to. We haven't had Solar really do any kind of very, very, very quick timing early on. No weird all-ins here. And sometimes in a best of 5, you have to wonder as each game passes, when and if he's going to try to do that. So maybe this time around, Maru plays more of a standard game. It's quite possible.
You have to play the player as much as you're playing the matchup here. And it's kind of one of those things, right? Like, if you identify that your opponent is extremely strong in mid to late game, remove that factor from the game by showing how strong you can be in the early stages. But as we see so far, Solar just playing a very regular ZVT opening, Maru doing the exact same thing, dropping a reactor on that barracks to get Hellions out for map presence one more time. But he got that extra Marine out before the Reaper, so he's going to try and deny the Overlord from coming anywhere near his tech, because the Overlord can tank a lot of Marine shots before it goes down, so he should be able to get a good look anyway. Bit of a dance between the Reaper and the Lings here, neither player taking much damage at all. There's a Ling.
So he does pop that one Zergling, 4 more drones on the way. We have that reactor coming out now here from Maru as Solar edges out a third base. This is the most typical location to try to take that third base. And you see Maru just hop down with the Reaper and get confirmation that, okay, there are 3 hatcheries in this game so far. He's trying to make sure he has a proper read so that he doesn't get misled. Keep in mind that Maru got blindsided in game number 2 by a Mutatech switch. And it's like the game fizzled out so fast, we were already moving into game number 3.
Indeed. Well, we got some active creep tumors starting to hit the map already here for Solar. This map, Backwater, can really spiral out of control for the Zerg when the creep spread starts to hit the middle. There's been a lot of really late game TVZs on this map as well as ZVPs, and they are a pleasure to see. This map is one of the best maps created, one of the best map makers in the world, Avex. And we have this Overlord coming on in, but of course that opening Marine starting to shoot it down slowly but surely.
6 Lings coming out, and this is really more to try to help with the Queens in zoning out any further Hellion pushes. We also have 1 Ling that has been looped around here and might be used to try to run inside the Terran's base when that push is happening. So forces gather up just outside the main entrance over here for Solar, and they're going to see if there are any creep tumors that they can deny. But Solar's actually been very good in this whole series about making sure his Queens are there before Maru is even able to think about doing damage. And as the time passes, we have a Roach Warren. The location of the Roach Warren is actually quite important. You want to make sure that you have things to sort of clog the entrance. I mean, it doesn't obviously wall it off by any measure, but it's just stuff that kind of gets in the way. You can also do things like try to show them the Roach Warren and really get roaches in their mind when you actually have plans to do something else. There's so many little mind games you can do when you're at the highest level of StarCraft.
And it looks like, oh, that's a lovely scouting Ling in here from Solar. I was about to mention that Maru waited until the Overlord was killed to start Cloak here on that Tech Lab starport. But with the tech choices from Solar, it looks like he's already ready for it. Even before the Ling came in and confirmed it, he was like, nah, you're getting Cloak Banshees. Even though I didn't see the Tech Lab spinning, he's already got Spore Crawlers on the way. He has Lairs, so we can have Overseers. And that's pretty much what he needs against Banshees. All the Hellions diving straight past the Queens looking for the drone line, but they take a lot of damage.
Maru actually second-guessing himself. He goes halfway in and then decides to pull back out, unsure. And we have a Spire on the way.
Oh, we certainly do.
Now, does this work again? I mean, Maru is actually teching in a different direction this game. I'm not sure if that's good or bad because I really don't know. There's some of these weirder playstyles that Maru brings out. I think nobody does know him as well as Maru, so let's go ahead and see what happens.
It kind of depends. If Maru scans this, the Spire tech can be completely nullified by just as soon as the armory finishes, grabbing one of your Tech Lab factories and just making a Thor. Once you have Thors out, mutas are really quite weak. There's a reason why you don't see them a whole lot in this matchup anymore. It's because of the power of those Thors when you go for mech. But it kind of depends, right? Like maybe there's a siege tank 70% complete. He waits for the siege tank to be done, and then he has to wait for the Thor to be produced. Maybe he doesn't scan and see the tech. Then as it stands, this Maru's just crossing his T's and dotting his I's here, Tasteless, and his lowercase J's.
I do wonder, let's say he goes for an extreme turtling style. Are there really that many bases that are easy to control with mech on this if you try to seal yourself off into a quadrant of the map? I mean, we already see these three here. If we could just kind of pan up here to the other ones, that's, of course, going to be a base I think anybody can hold no matter what the unit comp. But beyond that, that's where it gets tough. Like up here, or even to the right of this, further out, you know, generally speaking, whether you mech or don't mech, Terran don't like to have to expand too far out. They kind of like to stay grouped up. And once again, revisiting the Banshee thing here.
That's
another
a kill.
takeout. That was
so
what he was going to
big.
cancel.
Fourth hatchery killed here by Maru. That is so huge. I cannot believe it. Sorry, Tasteless, for exploding right there.
No, you're fine.
That is massive here for Maru. And he's reset the base count of the Zerg. It's a 3-base Zerg against a 3-base Terran who already has Thors out. What are these mutas going to do?
Solar might be in hot water right now. He sees the Thor, is looking for any other opening, might be able to deny this turret in time. Any SCV kills he can get are going to help, and the turret just barely does not get taken out and is driven away. These mutas really are not worth the investment now. That's a lot of gas to get those mutas. And it's not like this is a game where Maru's trying to drop everywhere with Marines and Stem, and these mutas can help, sandbag those efforts. No, not at all. In fact, Maru is sitting back and pumping mech iron. And what does he do with those mutas? That gas could have gone into some other investment to try to deal with mech later on. This is getting very difficult here for Solar.
Hey, Tasteless, remember game one?
Yeah.
You remember those Speed Banshees?
I do.
They're back.
Going for Speed Banshees here. Now, this is funny because he saw the mutas and he's still going to go ahead and do it. We already saw a couple Banshees early on, but maybe Solar expects that at least with the muta tech, Banshees wouldn't be, a logical thing to go for, since the mutas, as long as they can spot them when they're cloaked, they can shut them down. But Maru's going to go for it anyways while he stays back in Turtles. We're still waiting for Solar's fourth base to actually be mined from. It just now finished, so the drones are down there. Then it's actually going to be the fifth base in the bottom center that Solar's about to try to acquire.
Well, it's one of the ways to come back when you lose your hatchery like that. Obviously, it really, really sucks for Solar, but you can double expand, and if the Terran leaves you alone, you can recover from that. Solar has a very healthy drone count, 83 drones, pretty damn good. And the mutas still being useful for now for Solar. They're just dancing around back and forth, and Maru just staying at home with these Thors, keeping the mutas at bay, but he still takes a little bit of SCV damage here and there.
It's subtle, but actually taking out that refinery, that could help a lot. I mean,
well, he's going mech.
If everything Maru is making requires gas, anything you can do to slow that progression down is going to be helpful. Solar now at 182 supply is really just using these mutas to try to continue to scout and monitor the movement or lack thereof of Maru, whereas Maru is now beginning to make a lot of Ravens and send that group of Banshees that you were talking about, Maynard, across the map to probably snipe this hatchery.
The Maserati She's so fast, so furious. They're coming down here. His hatchery is largely undefended, and they can just kill a bunch of drones and leave, or even stick around and maybe even burn down the hatchery. They almost have +1 weapons as well.
You can see the Banshees are doing damage to the hatches. The Mutas come, but there's nothing to spot. And if he can't get into Overseer over here in time, this hatchery will go down.
That is going to be a pickoff there. That's a nice one there for Maru. He doesn't want to donate all of these Banshees to the cause, but it doesn't even matter. They are faster than the Overseer. Pneumatized Carapace is not done. Overlord speed not done here for Solar. It's only on the way.
Maru patiently stays back, continuing to power up. And we know a giant push is an inevitability from the Terran in this game. But Solar might want to try to come in here and chisel away at one of these bases and then patiently back off and just keep Terran shoved in and bunched up in this corner of the map. But you know, when this push does come out from Maru, it's going to be so strong. I think Solar might actually have to rely on counterattacks, and that's not always that easy on a map like this.
Yeah, not so much, especially when you take a bunch of damage in the early stages here. Losing those hatcheries really does sting. Oh, Solar's going for a very bold maneuver here. He's going to load up a ton of Overlords with Roaches and Hydras and go into this pocket base or even the main. Looks like Maru is posturing here on the north side. Solar avoiding him by moving those Overlords through the south.
We see up at the top, the Mutas taking some damage. They really don't have much more equity in this game. Only about 2, maybe even none left up over here. Solar's got a few different forces spread out. He's looking for an opening. He's waiting for Maru to move somewhere. And this drop coming down here is absolutely brilliant. He can start to target this command center. I don't believe that Maru can get back here in time. And this is just what I was talking about. Trying to keep Maru back in his base. Do not let Maru move out and start trying to take out these expansions with his ground forces.
I don't know if Maru will be able to save this command center. It's floating away from the Hydras, but it's so low in hit points. It's nearly burnt down. The SVs just get there in time and repair it. The big difference between Maru and Solar is that Maru's been killing bases, and Solar is doing economic damage here, but Maru can retake this CC. He also has another CC waiting to be able to go down, although denying these upgrades would be pretty sweet.
And he's going to do just that. SCD's unable to repair in time. I think what you said back there, Maynard, is very important. It's not like Maru can't reclaim the center left base, but just slowing down the mining from it is so, so important. Keep in mind, Maru right now floating at about 170 supply, is itching to eventually push out, but we need to see Terran have, I think ideally, a maxed out army, where we know that the optimal amount of damage can be dealt.
Well, the coolest thing that Solar did there with that attack is not only he got 10 SCVs, he forced the lift off in that CC, and he delayed the upgrades for Maru. So there is a chance for Solar to be able to take a fight if he can get the army up that he needs to be able to deal with this. He is getting Broodlords, and yes, Broodlords are going to be great against the ground army here for Maru, but the real story is not the ground army. It is once again, just like in Game 1, the air army. How many Ravens are there? How much energy does it have? What's the Viking count like? And how's the Vipers going here for Solar? He only has a couple of them at the moment, and I feel like they're his main tool against this army of Maru.
A scan here identifying that actually Solar's creep is getting so far across the map, it's going to be touching the Terran's territory, which means it's going to be a long, hard road ahead here for Maru if he tries to come out. Now, I don't believe that Overlord drop's going to work simply because there's so many turrets there. And with the creep getting that close to Maru's base, it looks like Solar wants to try and attack this top center location, freeing this up and slowing down any more income gathering here for Maru.
The Hellbat's in a lovely position here. That's a hatchery picked off there for Maru in the south. But at the north, the Hellbats are actually stopping the Brootlings from getting on these tanks. Blanketing those Corruptors with the armor-shredding missiles. A lot of the Hydras also softened up here, and that's a tank line here for Maru. So even though he loses a few of those Vikings, Solar doesn't take an amazing trade.
It's important to note how many minerals and gas are banked up on both sides. If this game goes to a super late one, we're going to see the gases build and get higher and higher and higher. But you can note that also Solar does have a lot of minerals in the bank he cannot quite spend. Sometimes in a very, very late game situation, you'll see two armies collide into each other, and then it's how you can spend the rest of those resources to remake those armies for the follow-up attack. That's sometimes the most important point in a drawn-out StarCraft 2 game.
These speed Banshees for Maru have been so critical. They've done so much damage to Solar in this game. But it's going to be, as their presence is dealt with slowly but surely here by Solar, It's all about this high gas army. And speaking of their presence being dealt with, Solar catches 2 of them, nearly getting a third, does get the third in the end there.
Note that both the upper right and the bottom left are really the only places that aren't occupied right now. This isn't a map where there are bases in the middle. They only hug the corners of the map. There's only a limited number of resources in any game of StarCraft. And we might end up having to go back and look at how many exchanges they had and how efficient or inefficient they were. Because there are games where there's almost nowhere to mine from, and you eventually realize, oh, even if one player was winning, there were so many inefficient trades that it didn't matter in the very end.
The Viking count of Maru is nice, but not incredible. However, the Raven count is incredible. 15 Ravens pulling up that energy with ghosts behind them as well. That's not bloody bad here for the Terran. It's going to be very, very nice against this Corruptor army here with those Broodlords. Now, the Vipers are a very huge threat, so these ghosts can EMP or snipe the Vipers, and that'll turn the tide of a battle. If the Vipers stay alive, potential parasitic bombs, potential abducts, those are things that can keep Solar alive and make him win a fight here against this army of Maru.
So we're getting to the weird phase.
Yes,
we're of this game, where you end up, we have like those 15 Ravens, all these ghosts. What's so fascinating about a moment like this is that Terran has all this energy they can expend. For instance, with the Ravens, he's beating me to it. Firing these spells over at the Broodlords means he's trading Raven energy for the gas-intensive units of Solar, and that's the exact thing I was talking about. Who's going to start having more favorable exchanges? Energy on a Raven is infinite if the game goes on long enough. Losing a unit, that is very finite.
Indeed. And more Broodlords are on the way here for Solar. I just don't feel like Broodlords are going to help him a ton here against what Maru's got. Most of his stuff flies. There are tanks here that are taking some damage.
Yeah, he's trying to poke in and pick off a tank and run away. But every time a Broodlord gets that close, of course a Raven can come down and try to snipe it there with one of those bombs. And actually, Maru dashing down to the bottom to a very unattended location. This hatchery will go down, meaning the income gets even slower here for Solar.
You mentioned it, Tasteless. Solar needs this income to be able to keep matching that army of Maru. The power of the Zerg is that it can spend all of its lava and use a bank to replenish its army after losing a bunch of it. Overwhelming Terran. But in this game, if you don't have that bank, you don't have that income, that's very, very hard to do. We have, I think honestly, Solar's in a weaker position this game than he was on Eastwatch. His second Spire is only on the way now, so his double air upgrades are on the way, whereas 3-3 is nearly done for this air army. Massive EMPs on the Vipers, by the way, and Maru blanketing him with the Armor Shredder missiles.
Huge losses here for Solar as he is flying back closer to the home base here of Solar. Again, the Ghost coming out now, chipping away at the Spore Crawler defense that we have as the Hydras come in. Maru once again, the Turtle going back into its shell, into safety, stays back, waiting for another opportunity to poke out again.
Solar just can't get a base without a fight here. These speed Banshees of Maru being very, very annoying. There's multiple Spore Crawlers here, but it hasn't been enough for Solar yet. He just keeps burning through, finding a sweet spot here out of Spore Crawler range, and just burning hatcheries down one at a time. This time it manages to survive, but it is low in hit points, and it's going to be another juicy target for Maru if he comes back with those Banshees. Nukes and multiple Ghost Academies on the way here, Tasteless. We're going to the Hyper Lake game.
Wow. If we can go super big picture here, it should be noted, I believe the very, very bottom left location will be the hardest spot for Maru to deny if he does not have the Banshees. So a push down there, not really feasible unless Solar's probably already lost the game. The upper right two bases, it's kind of ambiguous who's supposed to get that. I would assume Zerg can't just mine from that unless Zerg manages to take out the top center. At the same time, the top right, I don't see Terran really getting that unless this game's over too. But we are getting to that point where it's going to matter who still has money and what kind of army do they have left. And nukes also make it very problematic for a Zerg, as there's really, especially when the entire map's occupied, it becomes a lot tougher to figure out where you're being hit. And if you make a few mistakes there, either your army, one of your hidden expansions, or new expansions, I should say, nothing's really going to be hidden at this point in time, or your workers are going to be killed off. Wow.
You just mentioned it, Tasteless. That base is tough to take if this Banshee's there. Now, I'm actually a little worried for Solar because he doesn't have a ton of Spore Crawlers here, which is pretty good against a mass air army. Looks like Maru's going to lose a CC here. He cancels it just in time. and he is going to go for an engagement. He wants to catch and kill these Broodlords, which are relatively naked. Where are the Corruptors? Here they come.
Corruptors coming in now, but the Ghost with great targeting, firing away at that Infestor, Hydra, Broodlord, beginning a push. It's very important that Solar manages to take this base out. In fact, we actually have Maru taking the very upper right. We'll check on that later, but I was just mentioning how it shouldn't be possible for him to get that. Okay, and it is denied. But I just don't know in this fight where both players are stretching and reaching to the upper right if Solar can slow this down.
Oh!
The amount of minerals, great Fungal, the amount of minerals and gas banked up in from Maru is huge, allowing him to remake even more units.
The big thing there was Maru actually sniped 2 of the Infestors there, and that Fungal did go down, but he hasn't really killed too many of the Ghosts. Maru's army is just better than Solar's. The Infestors are very necessary as Fungal does interrupt the steady targeting of the Ghosts. But otherwise, the fighting potential of Solar's army, it is in 26 Corruptors. And if these Ravens are allowed to build up their energy, I don't know if they'll actually win a fight here.
I think you're completely right, Maynard. I wonder if Solar is having regrets not going for a shorter game, not going for a very surgical, precise attack early on to try to end it, is now going to really regret facing off against the late game god himself, Maru.
Man, Maru's playing a lot more like I would have expected TY to play, but of course Rogue wouldn't let him get there. This is a nuke right here. This Ghost is flowing on down. He doesn't want this base. He wants one of these ones over here.
Look at this. He's going to go right there. Now, this is an obscure spot to actually fire the nuke because some people put it in the center of the hatchery, but good job here by Solar, scrambling with drones to try to stop this nuke in time. These drones do not do a lot of damage.
The Infestors! Oh, they just get out of range of that nuke there. I was really, really worried for Rogue, for Solar rather. Oh my goodness, that was really, really tight. All right, so they just survived. And there's another big engagement. The Corruptors.
Oh my God, so much damage there. That's so much gas investment lost there by Solar. And Maru immediately bailing from the situation when he identifies he's not 100% safe. The Ghost coming around here to snipe stray Infestors. Solar suffering major losses.
Now Solar, if he can get the money Fungal here with enough units, maybe he can take a fight. Never mind. There go the Infestors. Solar slumps in his seat. The game is slipping through his fingers. It looks like the final Terran is on the precipice of going one step further.
We see, again, a push here from Solar. I'm not sure if this is simply out of frustration, as he knows he's getting further and further behind this game. He's trying his best. The Fungal's coming down. The Ghosts do dodge one of the Fungals. Liberator's setting up. It seems like Solar might be able to slip through. The Ghosts actually running back. We see infested Terrans coming down, but in the end, it's not quite enough. The Ghosts are firing away, and Solar appears to have basically given up and actually tried in this game with both of his hands off the keyboard. He does push in a little bit further.
Oh, this is over, man. Solar knows it, and Maru knows it. GG! Well played! And we have got ourselves a lovely race distribution in that top 4. I cannot wait to see Maru versus Rogue in Spodek Arena.
That was an incredible... It was so sick and it was so dynamic how each game panned out. Ladies and gentlemen, make some noise for the last player to go into the Final 4. He is Maru! We're going to go to a short break. When we come back, Smix will have an interview with the victor of that fantastic series, Maru.
Welcome back, everybody, to the Intel Extreme Masters Katowice. It's been a long day of StarCraft 2, but we finally have a winner for our last quarterfinal match of the day, and it is Maru. So first of all, congratulations, Maru, on advancing to the semifinal here in Katowice. It's been about a year since you reached the semifinal last year. You reached the semifinal of GSL. This year, you've reached the semifinal here in Katowice. So tell us how you're feeling right now.
일단 4강 진출 축하드리고요. 작년에 GSL에서 4강에 갔었는데 이제 한 1년 돼서 다시 4강 했잖아요. 근데 이 해외 팬들 앞에서 4강 하는 느낌 얘기해 주세요.
일단 되게 기분이 남다르고 이렇게 많은 관중 앞에서 이렇게 이기니까 더 기분 좋고 결승 꼭 가보고 싶어요.
So he says advancing here, it feels really special, especially compared to when I advanced to the round of 4 in Korea. To advance in front of all these, in front of so many fans here that are cheering so passionately, it feels really, really great. And I want to ensure to continue winning in front of all the fans. I'm really excited to do so. And now when it came to this series, you guys have been absolutely amazing, by the way. Now, when it came to this series, up until the last game, even to the last game, it was such a long game. So at what point did you realize, oh, I am advancing to the semifinal?
이제 마지막 경기까지 되게 길었잖아요. 그래서 어느 순간에 내가 진출했다, 내게 이겼다라는 생각하셨나요?
그 생각은 마지막까지 못했고 그냥 유리하다는 생각을 계속 하고 있어가지고 그냥 자신은 있었던 것 같아요.
So I never really had that one moment where I thought, okay, I have won. But that being said, I knew that I was in a very advantageous situation. So I just thought, okay, I'm in a really good position, so let's keep this going. And you did keep it going. Now you're moving forward, and you're going to be playing yet another teammate in Rogue. Rogue said that he'd preferred not to face you. So how do you feel about facing Rogue?
이제 또 다시 팀원을 만나게 되는데 4강에서 이병렬 선수는 조성주 선수 만나기 싫다고 했었어요. 어떻게 생각하세요?
저도 팀킬은 별로 안 좋아해가지고 안 만났으면 좋겠다고 생각했는데 그래도 높은 데서 만났으니까 괜찮은 것 같아요.
So I'm in the same boat as Rogue. I really did not like the idea of facing yet another teammate. But that being said, I'm really glad that if we are facing each other, it's at least further on in the tournament at such a high place like the semifinal match. So it's bound to be a great one. Congratulations again. Best of luck tomorrow in that Spodek arena. Let's head back to the battle station with Kaelaris to wrap up this long and crazy day.
That's right, Smix. It has indeed been a long and crazy day, but the games just kept getting better and better. And Maru keeps the Terran hope alive, boys, and moves on through into the round of 4. What an amazing top 4 we have.
As usual, the perfect breakdown. 2 Zergs, 1 Protoss, and 1 Terran.
Keeps happening.
David Kim, fantastic job.
Saw that coming, man.
We salute you. There you go. And there is Maru, scenes here as the Polish audience just adores what we just saw here from Maru. Not only did he do it, Artosis, with his own flair, his own style, but he did it in an amazing fashion against someone like Solar, who looked so good in the group stage.
Yeah, Solar looked very dominating in this tournament thus far. It feels like the old Solar is back. The tournament champion Solar is back. But here Maru is, right? Like, this is someone that we have been watching since Wings of Liberty. We've been watching him since the very beginning, and he's had a couple ups and downs, more ups than downs, but this is the best shape he's been in.
It's an amazing form as Maru soaks it all in. We can check in with the bracket to make sure you're up to date with what is going to happen tomorrow, because we have some amazing semi-finals lined up for you, and of course what is sure to be an ecstatically fantastic grand final. So let's take a look at that. Carrol Classic, Rogue, and Maru are the 4 players remaining here for the Intel Extreme Masters World Championship. Boys, those games.
Oh, well, I mean, look at the storylines, right? We have a top Korean player, a champion of each race, and then Carrol is in there as well, and he has looked phenomenal. So, I mean, today was so good. Will tomorrow be better? Can it be better? Can anything be better?
Each day keeps getting better, though. That's the thing. That's the crazy thing about this.
It can and it will. Looking at his matches, if you look at the 4 guys that made it to the semifinals, nobody is more deserving in these tournaments. There is not one guy that I looked at lost at the quarterfinals. Like, TY, no! It's
No?
Rogue, Maru, Classic, and Carrol. They played the best out of everybody that was here, and they deserve to be there. And they're gonna face one another,
Yeah.
and we get to watch it.
I can't believe how well the game's shaped up. It's been a long day, gentlemen. What's been your highlight? This series? Which series? Any series?
Jeez.
I would say Carrol. Like, it's obvious, you know, almost like the one non-Korean player somehow clutching Trap after being down 0-2. That was amazing. But I would say also Maru, he's really figured out Terran and Ravens. And he's the only one. He's showing everybody how to play this game, using Ravens in every matchup and making them look incredible.
Yeah, definitely. Your Artosis?
I don't know, man. Like TY Rogue, I was super hyped for. This last match was really nice as well. SOS versus Maru definitely delivered. I'm gonna go through and name every match except for Hurricane.
Hurricane. Oh my God.
Well, thank you very much, gentlemen. It has been a pleasure. Day number 5 is in the history books here for the Intel Extreme Masters. And just in general, the Intel Extreme Masters World Championship is a place that all of these players come to and will remember for the rest of their life. That's the kind of moments it creates. Tomorrow, we will have one player immortalized on this trophy right here, and they will become a world champion. We'll see you tomorrow.
Every single time I hear you say, if I run, I will not crash, I will not fall from first to last, till nothing's left inside, I will not lead you down a broken path with every